Hello, everyone. Welcome back to season 9 of Vulnerability Time. It's so great to be here for another season. Folks, remember to share the podcast, subscribe, follow the podcast. You never know whose life you're going to heal or change by just simply sharing the podcast. We're all in this together. We're all worthy and deserving of healing and deserving of love. So love someone today, including yourself, even if it's hard, even if you don't feel like it. Also, if you want some more healing, go and check out my books on Amazon. One's an interactive journal notebook, and you can interact with it. It's very self-awareness and to learn yourself and others if you want to learn more about yourself. The other one's a really neat poetry book that I wrote some years back. So all that can be found in the episode description below. And with that being said, this is another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josias Abriel. Alrighty, folks, so welcome back. We love a pre-recorded intro. So today, before I get into everything, folks, do forgive me. My nose is a little stuffy. I am dealing with allergies right now. I've never had allergies in the summer before, but I am in a different state for the summer, and so I'm assuming weather here is just different. So it's a journey and it's an experience, folks, so do forgive me if I sound a little nasally. Alrighty. So with us today, we have Bianca. And I'm sure you can tell by the title, folks, that we'll be talking about overcoming self-doubt, feeling unworthy, even though when we look put together, quote unquote, on the outside. So before we get into that, welcome, Bianca. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! I'm excited to have you. Love your smile, love your hair. You're just fabulous.
Thank you.
So Bianca, tell us a little bit about you. Any credentials, any work you do, hobbies, anything. Yeah, let us know about you.
So, per my title, my name is Bianca, obviously. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. So, I work as a therapist. I do one-on-one therapy with people. I see anywhere from 40 to 55 clients per week on top of the podcast that my business partner and I do. I have a full-time job. We also have our therapy practice that we're currently in the process of building. So a lot going on over here. That's the majority of my life aside from my dog Aries, who is downstairs.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I applaud all therapists because I think that is amazing. I'm a huge fan of therapy. I always encourage therapy. Therapy to me has been life-saving for me. Therapy has been life-saving. So, yes, y'all know what that means. Well, if you're new here, therapy literally helped me stay alive from committing suicide. So that's what I mean by life saving. And of course, it's enriched many parts of my life and has taught me so much about myself, my subconscious, correlations from childhood. Why was I, struggling with this attachment style and
Yeah.
not this one? Oh, things in childhood. So it really taught me a lot. And it also encouraged me and echoed and paralleled all the research that I was just doing in general to learn more about my body, my mind, and why things were the way they are, why how significant does trauma from childhood affect the brain and the body, and what that looks like. So therapy along with my own research and medication has just been superpowers. So thank you, Bianca.
I'm glad that you had such a positive experience with it. There's
Yeah, I know
a lot
that's
of
not
people
everyone's.
unfortunately don't.
Yeah.
So it's it's a blessing and it's a really beautiful thing that it allowed you to
Mhm.
change your life in the way that it did and take you from suicidal and wanting to end your life to being where you are. And honestly, that's why I got into it too.
Mm,
Like growing up, I had really severe mental health challenges as a kid. I now know that I had undiagnosed borderline personality disorder,
oh,
which is one of the most, yeah, it's one of the most stigmatized,
stigmatized.
misunderstood, honestly, like kind of hated mental health diagnoses.
Yeah,
And I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I didn't feel okay. I knew that
right.
things at home were severely chaotic growing up in a semi-neglectful home with a very, very Middle Eastern home. So women are supposed to be this, you're the oldest daughter, you're supposed to be that. My parents had no emotional intelligence, nothing, just very, this is the way things are. And I rebelled like crazy. I rebelled so much.
Mm,
So much so that the first relationship I ended up in, he emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and sexually abused me. And I was in it for 4 years and it was so bad, but I didn't want my parents to be right. I didn't want to prove them right. I didn't want them to be able to have that on me and be like, I told you so. We told you not to do this. We told you not to do that. And that led me to just making so many mistakes in
right.
my life and struggling severely and ending up in these really destructive dynamics until I met mentors and people who can help me and people who can guide me through. And I met my business partner and I moved out of my house and I did all of these things, but that stuff never got worked on.
Mhm,
And that actually almost cost me my business. My business partner almost was like, "We're done. I'm not dealing with this. Like, you need to go figure it out." In the most loving and compassionate way. But she was like, "I adore you. I love you, but you're not working on your stuff. So,
mm,
like, go work on it. Go work on all of this stuff that's happening. Like, you put on a really good show, but it's obvious you're struggling." And I did, and it saved my life too. I mean, the only reason I am where I am today is because of therapy and inner work and, doing the work and the journey, and now I get to help people all over the world as a result of it.
yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing that, Bianca. This is vulnerability time. We do share it and don't sugarcoat it at all. And so, first off, nice to meet you because as a fellow person that has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, it's nice to meet a fellow who's also
As someone who's in the club.
right, right. Someone who like understands from like an experiential level. I have
Yeah.
a question. So I've done um a lot of research. I wouldn't say a ton, but I would say a lot of research on borderline personality disorder.
Mhm.
Um okay, well, at first I started to use the second term that people use, ERD, emotional dysregulation disorder or emotional regulation disorder. I've heard that used as instead of borderline as well, but then I was like, no, I am gonna stick with saying borderline because I kind of want to break that stigma, and I realized that I was also stigmatizing myself by trying to escape that word and say
Not
another
using the
word.
word, yeah.
Exactly. And so I was just like, oh, I caught myself. I was like, oh, this is what, you know, this is kind of like, this is what we're doing. So I was like, let us not do that. And so borderline personality disorder. So from what I saw at the research, um, it appears as though there's still, research being done and things like that. But it from what I correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I saw multiple times when I doing research was that um it's debatable if childhood trauma causes can cause borderline personality disorder. Now, me and the people that I do know that have had it, I've not met one person. I can count the number on one hand of people that I've met that also have borderline personality disorder. Well, that know they have it. There we go.
Or that are willing to admit that they have it, because
Ooh,
very few people ever actually wanna say that they have it because of how
mhm.
stigmatizing it
It's
is.
very stigmatizing. That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, all had chaotic households. And of course, when I was reading the research, I was just like, I'm not in the labs doing the tests and all that. But in my mind, I was just like, of course, I think that that's a whole correlating factor. I was just like, yes, of course. So have you heard any research that confirms that borderline personality disorder can, be created from a chaotic household? Because I think it can, just based off my experience, but I'm not an expert in that field.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, borderline personality disorder, number 1, so there's 2 factors that really dive into it.
Mm.
Number 1, you have a higher emotional sensitivity just at base rate.
Uh-huh.
Right, that's why, like, 2 people can grow up in very similar households, but they have very different experiences of it.
Mhm.
It's because of their emotional baseline. So where are you
Mhm.
at? So have you ever met someone who just at their base, they're super happy, very bubbly, that's just who they are no matter what?
Right.
But then you'll meet other people and they have a sad or
Mhm.
anxious or nervous
Mhm.
baseline. So that is a really big part of it. Where are you at your baseline? People with borderline personality disorder have a much more sensitive and emotionally intolerant, I will say, baseline. They really struggle with their emotions just in general.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, one of the other really big criteria is an emotionally invalidating environment.
Mhm.
That might include trauma.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have trauma in order
Mhm.
to have BPD, but a lot of people who do also had trauma growing up. So
Mhm.
there's Marsha Linehan is the person who created DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy,
Yes.
which is the type of therapy that is used for borderline personality disorder.
Mhm.
She actually recently came out with a memoir saying that she had it and like opening up about that's how she created it and that's why she created it. But she frames it from something called a biopsychosocial model, which your biology, so who you are just genetically,
Mhm.
social, meaning your environment, and then psycho, so like what's going on in your own mind and in your own brain. So you have a genetic predisposition for it, right? Which means biologically your family basically had the potential of you developing it just from a genetic standpoint.
Gotcha.
You grew up in a chaotic or invalidating environment and you also had that higher sensitivity.
Mhm.
So that's really where it comes from.
Gotcha, gotcha. That makes so much sense. Yes, the DBT booklet. I ordered it. I've had that thing for years. Very, very, very beneficial, very helpful. Um, yeah, that makes so much sense. Thank you for helping to clarify uh that, Bianca, and shed some more light and awareness on that because it's very, very, very important. um that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And yes, the emotional invalidation, you know um I know that a lot of that came from my parents just not having any emotional intelligence. Like their EI, so low. EI, folks, emotional intelligence, just shorten it. EI so extremely low, um and I'm not saying that in like a to shame them way. I'm just saying like it was a reality. It still is a reality. I don't talk to them anymore. But it
That must have been a big
was
decision for you.
it was a huge liberating decision. It hurt making the decision, but after it I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know life could get good. I didn't know life could get this good." But it's
Whoa.
what also made it easier for me, Bianca. Well, it was still extremely hard, so I don't even want to say the word easier, but to help put things more in context, what made it easier for me is that they didn't want me anyway, so
Oh,
it made it so much easier. Now my brother, that's a different story. They want him, so but me, completely did not want me at all, and I also was the one, the only one in the family, my whole family, and I have a huge family, that is courageous enough, doesn't mean it wasn't scary, but courageous enough to do the work, to remove any veils, question things that I was taught, you know. It's just been so free and so liberating. I was the one courageous enough to, and I'm not saying people who don't go to therapy aren't courageous. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, in the context of my family, I was the one courageous enough to go to therapy while the rest of the family, they ran away from things. When I spoke up about sexual abuse, they ran away. They don't want to talk about it. They want to sweep it under the rug, or they want to quote unquote pray about it, but they don't want to talk about it at all. I was the one that was more accepting of people of earth and society, whereas they were more judgmental. And um and I mean that in the most unfortunate, strictly religious way possible. um the definition, I know, how about this, I know what hatred is because I learned it from them first. They were my first teachers of hatred, and it wasn't through actions of love. I learned love because I committed suicide at 15 and got to go on the other side. But mind you, my family, especially my brother, was telling me I should kill myself. That my mom should have aborted me, things like that. Yes, I know it's horrible.
oh
So
my God, Josias.
I know, isn't that horrible? All it was awful. However, my story does get amazing. But that's where, not but, however, that's where it did start. And so, just to give folks context of how, like, necessary it was, and but also how hard it was, because you know that's my mom, so why was she my enemy? And I hate it when people would say, well, that's your mom. Exactly. Not my enemy. She's supposed to be my mom. That's the problem. you know and so, if this was like a quote unquote friend, I would have left sooner. During that time in my life, I would have left sooner. But it's family, so I didn't know. I was always, a lot of the gaslighting and invalidation growing up, especially from family, came from, oh, well, that's your dad, that's your mom, and I'm just like, okay, my dad just is abusing me. So, but thank you. That's my dad. Thanks. Great. No way. I did not know that. You know. Yeah. So it was a hard decision. It was the best decision though, because I was always just, blood is thicker than water, and I was like, you know what? But bond is thicker than blood, and you're my mother by DNA. You're not mom by relationship. Same with father. And I was just like, it's not like y'all don't know any better, because my brother is experiencing different parents out of y'all. So I see the love in front of me. They're not perfect. No one's perfect. But I see love in front of me all the time, and luckily I never got like envious or jealous of my brother, I knew exactly where the, injustices were coming from. I could very clearly see that it's my parents, and I was able to recognize that very, very, very early on. But and then especially when because especially when um, kept fighting to build relationships with my family. I fought. They never fought. I literally fought so hard for years, self abandoning myself, neglecting myself. And so, I even pushed to go to family therapy. Me in an attempt to save my family's relationships. I'm almost finished ranting, y'all, I promise. But there's a point that I'm going to make with all of this. I you know, kept pushing to go to family therapy. I kept pushing. They constantly ran away. I mean, my mother would use my family, they were very wealthy to give people context. But they constantly, especially my mother, I cut my father off first just because there were certain no, I'm not gonna go there. But just because I don't want to take up Bianca's episode. But my mother, she would always say, oh, well, I just don't have the money. I, as in her, saying she doesn't have the money. That was completely a lie. She would say she doesn't have the money. She's very wealthy. My dad is even wealthier. So the whole money thing, that's BS because she said she didn't have the money. Oh, guess who got a new car next week? Brand new car, same year car, not a used car, brand new car. Guess who got the lights, the chandeliers changed in the house? Um, and there was this, and this happened for years, folks. Multiple years of her saying she doesn't have the money, but I'm telling you, the house will get a renovation. It doesn't need it. She bought a $400 lamp that we don't use. It's just there for decoration. And there's this one time and I do think she struggles with I do think she suffers from narcissist personality disorder. I'm not even just saying that because it's a cool phrase to say. I truly think looking especially looking at the DSM. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist, but when I look at the DSM and I just do tons of research, I'm just like, yeah, my parents, this is right up there. I even had counselors and therapists tell me it sounds like they have narcissist personality disorder. But anyways, my I remember for Christmas, my mother's room is bigger than the master room in the house that I used to live in. I've since then moved out, thankfully. But my mother's room is bigger than the master room. So, and the reason why I say that is because the walls are huge. During Christmas time, she had bought Christmas presents for everyone. Not me, but for everyone. Friends, family, and my family, they're very material, image based folks. So the more money you have, the more social status and things like that, especially within her church, just social economic status on a more micro level. So her whole wall was filled with Christmas gifts. And these aren't necessarily huge Christmas gifts, they're like in bags, but the wall was filled with them. And I told her, I said, because I asked her one last time, let's go to family therapy. I'm trying to save my relationship with you. And she kept saying, I don't have the money. I went to her room and I pointed at the wall. And that just, she made a face and it's kind of like it broke her psychologically. It kind of scared me. But so that's just context of, they didn't want to be and it's because I get it if a parent didn't know and they were just doing the best that they can. No, I found my voice very early on, thankfully, through therapy and research, and I'm glad I had great experiences. So I brought this research and I brought the things that I learned in therapy to her. I brought, subconscious actions to her. I communicated how I was feeling. I communicated importance of things. I communicated. So she knew and she didn't want to go to therapy because she didn't want to be held accountable. Someone else would tell her. And that's exactly when we went to family therapy once. After one time, we went one time because I pointed at the wall with Christmas gifts. Um, so I somehow, I guess it in a way peer pressured her. Um, but she was held accountable in therapy. She did not like that.
Never won again.
Never went again. And so basically to say that one, it makes complete sense of what you said about like BPD. I was like, yeah, yeah, right up my alley. But two, making a tough decision that, even though I know it's the right decision, didn't necessarily make it feel any better, but it was worth it. And so I want to encourage someone out there. I'm not saying this has to be your parents, a friend. It doesn't have to be necessarily a relationship. It could be, I don't know, just anything. Just, if because I was under the assumption, folks, that if it's the right decision, it's gonna feel great. It's gonna feel like it's the right decision. I was humbled, and because there's been some decisions that felt like the right decision and I did it and it was great. But then there are some decisions when, things get really tough. And I was just like, I know it's the right decision, but it doesn't feel it. So therefore it's not the right decision. I want to encourage someone out there. That's that thing that we were always taught, that, oh, it's gonna feel like the right decision, might not be true all the time. I know for me, it depended on the circumstance, but I'm telling you, that hard, painful decision to let that go and to no longer self-abandon, folks, it was the best decision, most liberating, free decision. I'm literally living my dream now because I let go. And so I want to encourage folks out there. It's okay if it doesn't feel like it. If it doesn't feel like it's the right decision, like, it's okay. That doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. Like, it's okay, because I know I was stuck for years, and I've heard many people around me in the past be stuck for years, staying in certain situations or staying in certain things because it didn't feel like the right decision. Even though we look back now, me and them, we look back now and we say it was clearly the right decision to leave, but we self-abandoned. And no shame. It just inevitably happened because it didn't feel like the right decision. But I want to encourage someone out there. It's the right decision. It's the right
The right
decision.
Yeah, the right
Yeah.
decision almost never feels good. It's not gonna
Right, right.
feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're not gonna want to do it. You're not gonna feel good
Right.
about it, but the long-term benefits, the long-term implications, that's the thing that you really have to remember.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I left home when I was 24, 25
Mm-hmm.
after a really, really bad incident happened between my mom and I.
Oh,
I
same
was
here. Same age and incident between the mom. Yep.
The relationship with me and my parents, in my family, it was really bad and really difficult, and they did their best, and it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Someone can do their best, but that doesn't mean that it's enough, and it doesn't mean that your needs are being met. And I mean, my mom and I got into physical altercations.
Mm-hmm.
My mom said some of the most, like, graphic,
Mm-hmm.
horrific things you could ever say to someone, and it's like,
Yeah.
"I'm your child.
Right.
How do you justify that? How do you?" But she was mentally ill and she was struggling too, and
Mm-hmm.
the decision to leave was one of the most difficult, painful decisions I ever made, but here I am 6, 7 years later, and now I help other people do it. And you're a perfect example of that too. We religion and family and the narratives around and money and the narrative around these things is some of the biggest things that keeps people trapped. Blood is thicker than water. They're your family. What happens
Mm-hmm.
in the house stays in the house.
Oh.
Oh, God is going to punish you.
Mm-hmm.
These really disgusting, manipulative, destructive narratives that are being told to basically keep you stuck and trapped in this situation so that you don't, quote unquote, make the family look bad.
Right. Yep. 1000%, Bianca. You said it perfectly. You said, and I also liked how you verbalized it because I never, even till this day, until you speaking right now, I've never verbalized. But well, I thought it, but I never verbalized it and articulated in such a beautiful way, in such a honest way. When you said, just because someone does their best doesn't mean it's enough, doesn't mean your needs aren't met. I'm telling you, if I knew that statement, then it would just been one other thing that I could say, but I mean, it wouldn't have gotten through to her anyways. But it would have helped me feel better. But I'm glad I know it now, So thank you for sharing that because it's actually really interesting. Like the other day, I was having a conversation, with someone. It wasn't a podcast or nothing. It was just, a friend, and their situation was very similar to mine, but their parents, they never they didn't know about family therapy, right? They didn't present the parents with research, and I've never heard of anyone doing that, I just never heard of someone doing that. But the reason why I'm saying that is like, so for them, though we've had similar, um, households and, similar experiences with our parents, you know, for them, they said, but their parents did their best. And they truly, truly believe that their parents did their best. And I believe them that, yeah, their parents did their best, but, um, it just ended at that, and I've heard that been said before to me in a gaslighting way. So when I heard that person say that, it made me remember, like, that's been told to me, but they weren't saying it. They weren't gaslit by it. They just genuinely felt that they see now that their parents had horrible parents and that they did the best they could. It doesn't excuse any of their actions, but they recognized, out of their words, out of their mouth, they said, but they could tell that their parents did the best. When I was told that, it was told in a gaslighting way. All my life, well, I'm doing my best. You have a roof over your head, you know? And so
So the
I
bare minimum.
Right, exactly. I was like, so the bare minimum. I was like, you have to put a roof over my head, or else you go to jail. It's just like, yeah, throw out a 9-year-old, see what, see what happens. But you don't want to ruin your image, right? So you're not going to throw out the 9-year-old. That's how my family was, very image based. But yes, oh, I just think that's so beautiful because once they said that, it reminded me, and all I could hear at that moment, well, all I could feel in that moment was the gaslighting that I've been told over the years. I can hear my aunt's voice. I can hear this voice and that voice, my own voice. At once upon a time when I gaslit myself, took the baton. So, and this happened a couple days ago. So, hearing you say that, the way you said it was so perfectly, I needed to hear it. Because all these years, I would always, defend that and just like, yeah, they did the quote unquote best, but actually I don't think they did because it's not like they didn't know the actions. I told them the actions. I pushed for therapy for years and they ran away. So no, they chose not to no, they chose not to do the best they could. It'd be different if I had no knowledge, they had no knowledge, then I could say, okay, I think they did the best they could because they didn't know. But here was the here was the answers and solutions, and they chose not to know. And so that never just felt right with me when I heard them, my parents, them as in my parents, and just other family members, and just even other people that were meaning, even like friends in the past, way back then, that were meaning to be helpful, because it was hard for them to digest how a parent could be that, because
Evil.
they themselves, yeah, because they have great parents, and so it's just not in their reality. So when they said it, and I know they were meaning to be helpful, I know they were just meaning to be there for me. um it triggered the gaslighting in me. It triggered that. And so hearing someone say someone can even do their best, but it still not be enough, and it still doesn't mean your needs are being met. That is a perfect statement. Thank you for sharing that, Bianca. Thank
Josias,
you.
your parents didn't do their best, though. Not even
That's right.
close.
That's
Not
right.
even close. Them doing their best would have been them trying to learn and them trying to grow and them trying to get therapy and them
Yes.
hearing you and loving you and giving you everything that you needed, and they didn't. They
Yes.
had money and they had their own selfish narratives and
Yes.
ideas and goals, and you just happened to be in the home. But it sounds like they did everything in their power to terrorize you.
Yes.
I mean, from the little that you just expressed, like you were really severely harmed.
Yeah.
They didn't
Mhm.
do their best. And the collusion that happened in the family of everyone basically, we know this is happening. Nobody talk about it and don't talk about this outside of the house.
Mhm. Mhm.
Of course, you ended up experiencing the things that you did and felt the way
Yeah.
that you did. It makes perfect sense.
Yes. I'm validating that. Oh my God, I'm up here tearing up over here just to hear that invalidation from someone, to say, but guess what? They didn't do their best. Like, trust me, like I've finally forgiven my father, finally, and that took years, folks. And honestly, it only became a goal because I saw how much hate was starting to harm me. But so I didn't know what else to do but to work on grieving the loss of that relationship. I grieved them as if he died. I grieved them as if he died, and also work on the forgiving aspect. But that's not necessarily was my goal. My goal was to heal and to move on, not move on, to heal and grow. I stay away from the term move on because it sounds very validating. So I just stay away from that term. I know what some people mean by it. They mean well. I get it. But just the way I've heard move on in my life has been ugh. Um, but yeah, so
I actually don't
I
think you have to forgive your parents.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what my goal originally was, not even that but I felt like the only way it was not for my mother, that's not the goal at all. But my father, I had so much deep-seated hate because you know why, Bianca? Because not only did I digest everything and grieve everything, I finally at 21, I finally admitted out loud that he molested me. I finally admitted, and it was always in the back of my head. I always knew what happened. Now I could talk about the other sexual abuse that happened to me, by other men that just weren't in just that. But my father, like at 21, that just put on. I wasn't molested at 21. I opened up about it at 21. But I've always been open about sexual abuse that's occurred to me as a child, but I never mentioned my father. Even when I would do guest speaking, like I never mentioned it. So when I finally mentioned that, all of this a type of hatred that I've never seen in my life happened inside of me. And I was just like, the only way I know how, like, and of course it took years, but the only way, because it was destroying me. It was making me suicidal, making me want to self harm. So the only thing I can think of is to work on that forgiveness journey. But that wasn't the goal. Now, my mother, I feel like with my mother, like, that's just not the goal. And I'm definitely not letting her back in my life. But yeah, my mother, that's not the goal, forgiveness. But and with my father, that definitely was never the goal. My goal was just to grieve the loss and to heal. But that hatred, Bianca, I can't even explain it. I was scared of myself. I didn't know what to do.
I
But
can imagine.
yeah, but to forgive, because it was kind of like the hatred. It was making me, I was like, I don't want to love him. I'm just not. So I was like, what else can I do? And I was like, oh, I guess work on forgiving. Because the hatred, it was like I was drinking um water that just ended up poisoning me.
I do believe that there would have been a way for you to heal without
without
forgiving him.
forgiving.
I mean,
Yeah.
some things are just unforgivable.
Right. Exact. Honestly, right?
It's unforgivable that someone would molest their own son, like,
Hmm.
that's not forgivable.
Exactly.
And there are other ways for you to heal, and there's
Yeah.
ways for you to move forward without that. I mean, I have a client right now. She had been assaulted and traumatized in every way you can
Hmm.
think of. She was gang raped, she was,
Hmm.
like, violently assaulted by partners, she had her family did terrible things to her,
Yes.
and she came to me and asked that similar question of, "Do I have to forgive them?"
Mm.
And I said, "What they did was evil.
Hmm.
No, you don't have to forgive them.
Right. Right.
You have to forgive yourself for blaming yourself for what they
Mhm.
did to you." And Josias, I think that is something for you. I mean, that hatred that you felt, what if that was viable?
Yeah.
What if that was valid?
Hmm.
What if it made sense that you hated him?
Right. Right.
You don't have to forgive him, you had to forgive you
Mm.
for not knowing better and whatever shame and guilt and
Hmm.
the, like, self-disgust and the whatever other
Yeah.
really visceral emotions and sensations that you were feeling as a byproduct of what happened.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Bianca. Listen, I love thank you for the validation. Thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you so much. Because at that time, I'm not religious or Christian anymore, at all. But at that time, the support that was in my ear was also telling me forgive. And they were coming from, their religion saying, oh, forgive, and saying it as if it's something easy to do, or because deep down, I've always felt I'd never really felt okay with that. Deep down, even as a kid, when I was taught that, because my father was a pastor, molested many kids, by the way.
Your father was a pastor?
He was a pastor, so of course he got away with it. Of course
Oh
he got
my
away with it.
god.
That's why when I see in the news when priests and pastors they get caught, it just feels so good knowing that they got caught because mine got away. And then I reported it too late. So in the state of Texas, there's statute of limitations. Every state has like different statute of limitations. It's something can happen. It's too late. It can be too late.
Your
Um,
father was a pastor
oh, pastor.
molesting little boys that, like,
And
ins
girls.
vain
Mhm.
and girls and vain and money-centered.
Money
That is the
center.
exact problem.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And so because of that and just seeing his friends, they're just very money uh, manipulating people for money. By that I'm just gonna say it. I mean the church, they were just manipulating people for money. So because of that, like still to this day, I mean, I don't go to church or I'm not Christian or nothing like that, but still to this day, I just don't. If I find out someone's a pastor, I don't trust them. I just don't. I just literally don't. I've seen it too many times, and I just I mean, I won't treat a pastor any differently than I would treat someone else. I just won't. They'll never know that I just don't trust them and would prefer not to be around them. But it's there just because I'm just like I keep seeing this, kept seeing it throughout my life, and then I would hear about it on the news and stuff like that, and I'm just like, hmm, and it'd be one thing if I was going out of my way to see it, but it was just so present, consistently. And now I just can't see anything else. I just can't see anything else. So if you're a pastor out there listening, no shame or judgment. I'm just being honest. I don't think any pastors listen to this podcast. This podcast kind of breaks the it how about this Mm, it it talks about not every episode does this, but a lot of episodes let's for example, we were taught a lot of things growing up. For example, that there's only male and female. We weren't taught though that there is also intersex people, people that are born both, people that are born either both or born neither. What about them? But we're only taught there's only male and female. There's millions of intersex people. They just mostly look female, but on the outside they look female. I'm intersex. I look male. I'm the few that looks male. But I was born both. My parents hid that from me, as do many parents. Especially when a lot of them also don't know because doctors they say what do they call it, DSD, and they say your baby has DSD, but we can do emergency surgery now. And they don't explain to the parents that, guess what, DSD is actually normal and it's called intersex, but our society, capitalism works better based off the the separation of male female and all of that. But according to them. And y'all, I'm learning all of this in my PhD sociology program. It's a very dis discouraging to learn. Knowledge can be a burden sometimes, folks. That's what I'm feeling. But it's knowledge is also liberating, but I'm just feeling the burden currently because all this new information. But I was taught from the Bible that there's God only made male and female. But what about the intersex people? What about me? I was like, so things like that is what I mean by like, I just think that pastors would run away from that type of truth because it's not what they were taught. And you know yeah, I remember because one time someone, when I used to be Christian, I was gaslit, but someone brought up some very very valid points and I got so insecure that I projected that. And so I always have seen that, like, even when I started to question things and just be like, but actually no, and actually it's like, what about this, and then what about this, and what about when the Bible was changed multiple times, what about that? Like, I saw what I used to do to people. I saw folks insecurity and projections, and they projected it onto me just like I've done to others. It wasn't in horrible ways or nothing like that. I just recognized that it was projection, the insecurity, and so it was like a form of running away from something that's different than what you were taught as a kid. So, especially when someone holds like a faith so dear to them or something, and to be confronted with a reality that is not that, it can be, scary for some people. And so I just don't think pastors listen to this because this does do a lot. So I don't think I have anything to worry about. But even if I did, even if there is pastors listening, folks, please, there's a lot of people out there that don't trust pastors. Please change that. Please change that. So yes, Bianca. Okay, so something really quick. I'm so sorry for getting off topic. I'm so sorry for
You're
a little
okay.
venting.
You're
Um,
okay.
so a lot of this, Bianca, like, people would be shocked that I went through all of this, right? Because I would always come off put together. And I realized, thanks to therapy, I realized that um the only way at that time in my life, the only way I could express to people or show people, guess what, I'm actually not okay, is to just verbally tell them. So I started that practice of telling people that I'm close with or got close with, say, hey, I know I sound happy. I know I look put together. I know I'm making all these great grades. I know I'm doing great, but guess what? I'm not okay. I'm suicidal. But I would say it in a way that it sounds okay because I was used to having to, it's like being put together was kind of like survival to me. Being put together, I feel like it got me things, because I was taught that me being me, vulnerable, who would love that? Who would want that? So that's what I got. And my parents, I would say my mother more intentionally taught me that, but I would say as a whole, I think that was one of the more unintentional things that just was inevitable based off other actions that they were doing. But that's what I was shown. And so I was always put together and I just lived life being becoming verbally honest, but
Mm.
still being put together. And so I wanted to get I loved the topics that I loved what we've been sharing, but I also love your topic. I want to hear your story on, you know, overcoming the self-doubt and feeling unworthy because I can relate to that too, while also looking put together. Everyone thinks we're put together. They are shocked that we went through all of that. You know, so what would you like to share on overcoming self-doubt with feeling unworthy, even though you looked put together?
Very similarly to you, looking put together was a survival mechanism.
Mm,
I felt so broken and I felt so not good enough. And I also struggled with suicidal ideation and
mhm,
self harm from a really young age. And, you know, at times, like aggressive behaviors. Like, I really struggled, and so many people do. And it sounds like you did too. And looking put together, at least on the outside, you didn't look as messy, quote
mhm,
unquote, as you felt on the inside.
mhm,
And it becomes a shield. It becomes this badge of honor that, well, at least nobody will know.
mhm,
At least nobody will know how broken I am. At
mhm,
least nobody will know how much I hate myself and how much I want to die and
mhm,
how terrible of a human being that I feel.
mhm,
And so I grew up in a family very similar to yours, very, very status driven, very significance driven. Everything was about appearance. My mom was like the ultimate fashionista. That's what everyone knew our family as.
mhm,
And I resented it so much. But we looked great.
mhm.
And as long as we looked good, nobody knew what was going on at home.
Yeah,
And so I learned from a really young age how to be very well put together, how to dress well, how to have a presence and an energy that basically signified that I was this amazing thing, amazing person. And it really caught up to me when my business partner was like, "We're going to split this company if you don't go change." Because I thought I was vulnerable. I thought I was opening up. I thought I was doing the right things, and I wasn't. Not until that moment, and it was like, "Oh my god, I'm still living this lie.
yeah,
I'm still not I'm telling people go to therapy and do all of these things, but I'm not actually living it.
yeah,
I'm not actually embodying it."
right.
And when I did, when I really oh, what's the phrase? It's like the dark night of the soul moment. I had to really face all of the things I was terrified of about myself and really acknowledge them and just let them be true. Like, yes, I have borderline personality disorder.
Mhm,
Yes, I used to be a very destructive type of person.
yeah,
Yes, I'm not that intelligent.
mhm,
Yes, I made a lot of terrible mistakes. Yes, I'm not super capable.
mhm,
And there's so much more to me than that. And I
yeah,
can become all of those things.
mhm,
And that realization, that's when everything started to change for me. Not right away. It required a lot of work and a lot of effort, but the effort that I put in, it's the only reason why I am where I am today, doing what I'm doing, able to, talk to you and hopefully make an impact.
yes. That's beautiful. So, can you tell us, thank you for sharing that. Um, can you tell us, oh, I have two questions for you actually. Um, but the first one, can you tell us how, can you give us like a time span of how long that took? Like how long that took to, Because you said it didn't happen the snap of a finger. Did it take like a year or 2 year? Is it still, you know, progress slash process? Could you tell us?
There's no end date to it,
Mm,
and I know that scares a lot of people because it's like, "Wait, I'm not gonna just, like, be okay one day."
mm,
But that's like saying you're gonna eat once and then you'll never be hungry again.
right.
It's a process. This is gonna be a lifelong process, and if you commit to that, and if you allow for it to be a lifelong process, your entire life will be so much better and so much more fulfilled. But the really drastic changes, it took a couple of years.
Yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. And would you say, because at first, long time ago, that's what scared me. Long time ago was, when I was accepting the whole healing is oftentimes in my life, I've seen majority of times healing is like a process, not necessarily a point. Um, because I think what in my mind, what I was wanting was a cure, which is
Yeah.
it's finished, done. But healing oftentimes is a process that occurs even if there's no cure. The and you can gain so much from it. So for me, that did scare me at first, knowing that I because at first I didn't realize until a couple years ago that what I was wanting growing up was when I first started my healing journey was a cure. I mistaken what healing was. I was thinking that it was the work and then the finish line, boom. But that's cure. That's a cure, right? Um, so what helped me was to ask myself and ask others, is life better now than it was then? So that's what helped me you know, I don't want to even use the word conquer the fear because I really want to be gentle with the journey. Um, that's what helped me rest my fears because I had to recognize they were valid. I mean, they were valid. I didn't want to, especially when I first started my healing journey. I did not know the difference in my mind. To me, for me, I didn't know the difference for me of a cure and healing. I didn't know what that means in relation to my journey, to my healing journey. Now a cure, I can think of cancer, I can think of sicknesses, but when it came to like healing journey, I didn't know the difference. I couldn't recognize the difference and how that would show up for me because I had the expectation that it would be a cure. Um, so that's what helped me. I started looking back in my life and I'm just like, I'm better than I was 2 years ago. I'm better than I was a year ago. I was just like, I'm doing so much better. And by better, I'm saying like, I was like, wow, like, look now. Like, I mean, things are not perfect, but they are not what they used to be. So, Bianca, would you say that, I'm sure I know the answer, but would you say that, the healing journey, even though it's a process and a progress, would you say it was worth it? And would you say, I know you've already said it, but just to say it again, would you also say that, you're glad that you did it?
I would do it all over again if I had to. It
Yes.
changed my life.
Mm,
I was a broken human being.
mhm,
I was deeply incompetent. I couldn't do anything.
mhm.
And my entire life changed. And I'm actually a person that I love and I can feel proud of. And I'm doing, I have the opportunity to do a lot of really good in the world.
Yes.
So it's absolutely worth it if you are willing to do it and if you're willing to be uncomfortable and if you're willing to allow it to take the time it needs and to not try to rush it.
Yes. Well, I love what you said because there is so much growth in the uncomfort. I learned that there is so much growth in the uncomfort. And I love how you mentioned the self-love. Something I one was never taught, never think that I could even grasp that, I never thought I could ever love myself. I mean, I am so grateful for my healing journey because eventually I remember I looked back in a year. I look back and I'm just like, wow, I love myself. I remember me 7 years ago, and look at where I'm at now. I was like, whoa, like I love myself. Oh, it's amazing. Like I was like, I love myself. What? Never thought I'd reach that, but I'm really grateful to the journey, to the process. I eventually got to, of course I had to, do the work and stuff like that. But it's something that's wasn't it was possible. It wasn't impossible like I thought it was. And my healing journey in multiple ways has just blown my mind. Um and so I don't know if I would have learned it if I just got cured. I just don't know. I don't know if I would have. I really just don't know. I mean,
You
it's hard
probably
for me to
wouldn't
say
have.
that, but I don't know. I think that my journey really gave me, and taught me so much more than a cure would have, you know? Um, and so my second question is, could you tell us more about the being put together as a survival mechanism? What is I would say, w- how? For someone who's listening, I mean, for me, I know it's a survival mechanism, but for someone who's listening who doesn't know, because at first I did not know, like for years, and I still don't know too much. Um, but I do recognize that it was a survival mechanism. Could you tell us how, whether that's for you or just in general, how is it a survival mechanism?
The majority of us are trying to be perceived as better than we are because of how bad we feel on the inside. So as long as we can look the part, we we don't have to risk harm. So if you can
Mhm.
look good, then people will think you are, and then nothing bad will happen to you.
That was very beautifully said. Do you have a book out or something?
Eventually.
Okay, because there have been so many things that you've said, and the way you articulate it and verbalize it, I'm just like, this needs to be in a book. Like, this needs to be
I
in a
speak
book.
about it very often on my podcast. So I have a podcast that I do with my business partner. And then I also have a YouTube channel that I share a lot of these thoughts on. The episode that just came out last week was why it's okay to be angry at your parents.
Oh my gosh. Hey, this is what's gonna happen. I need you to send me those links. I mean, I'm sure it's on it's gonna be on your profile, but if there's any links that aren't on your Podmatch profile, um, send them to me so I can put them in the episode description below so folks can go support because we love to support over here. And then I want you to send me that episode
I definitely will.
of your YouTube because I didn't know you had a YouTube. That is so
Yeah,
cool. So what's your I know I want to be respectful of your time. I'm so sorry. It's over an hour. I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
Um do you have 2 more minutes to tell us a little bit about your podcast
Mhm.
and your YouTube channels?
So the podcast is called Evolve Ventures. It's funny, my business partner and I actually created it in 2020, and the original name was the Why Power Podcast because
Mhm.
the our understanding that like if you understand why you're doing things, you can really change your behavior and you can grow and you can do better. And then we put it into Alexa and Siri and we said, hey, blah blah. I don't want my phone to go off. So like, hey, blah 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 blah. Play the Why Power podcast. And it said the White Power podcast. And we were like, oh, no, 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 no. That's not what this is. Nope. Nope. So we ended up changing and we rebranded the entire organization to Evolve Ventures. So the podcast is called the Evolve Ventures podcast. And it's a mental health leadership podcast that really unbreaks the myths and the lies and the stories that we all have been fed and tell ourselves. and teaches you how to break old limiting beliefs and to develop more empowering ones. And the podcast is basically my little spin-off. I mean, my YouTube is a spin-off of that. So instead of it being my business partner and I, it's just me.
Okay. And what's your YouTube name? It'll be in the episode description below, but
It's just my name. It's Bianca
Bianca
Thomas,
Thomas,
LMHC.
LMHC. Okay. Love that. Oh, we love a good credential. Um, okay, Bianca. Well, thank you so much. I apologize for going over 3 minutes,
It's
five
okay.
minutes, sorry. Um, folks, I like to end with a little first off, thank you so much, Bianca, for being on here. Folks, I love to end with a little challenge. Today, the challenge is tell yourself you are enough, even if you don't believe it. Tell yourself you are enough. It wouldn't be much of an affirmation if we believed it, right? Tell yourself you are enough, even if you don't feel it, even if you don't believe it. Just tell them. Tell yourself, okay? Alrighty. I love you, folks. See you next time for whatever episode that will be.